Hey everyone, it's Radhika. Welcome back to Datazard. I'm back with an interesting challenge. If you like the content, then please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today we are going to do Workout Wednesday 2021 Week 2 Power BI Challenge, which is an extension to the previous challenge we did. So if you have not watched that video, then please do watch it. In this challenge, we are going to build this visual where we have KPIs at the top, trends in the middle, and then some bar chart at the bottom. So let's get started. I'm using the same Power BI file that I have created for 2021 week 1 challenge. And in that, I'm going to go to transform data, which will open the Power Query editor. In this, the first thing that we need to do for challenge is create a new column called total profits in the finances fact table. For that, let's go to the advanced editor. And in here, I'll place a comma because we need to add another line to it. And I am going to name this step as add total profits. So what we need to do is we need to add column. So we are going to write table.add column. And then we need to add it to the previous step, which is filtered rows. Then from the IntelliSense, you can see we need to name this column. So I am naming the column as total profit. And then we have to give the expression via which this will be derived. So the expression is we get total revenues and we subtract total expenses and add back excess transfers back. And I am going to return this step instead of filtered rows, and clicking on done, we can see there is no syntax error. Clicking on done. Oh, I've made a small mistake. Let's go to advanced query editor. I have missed adding each because we need to do it for each row, and then clicking on done and scrolling to the extreme right, I can see total profits has been created. Now I will click on close and apply. Now let us create the three measures that are required, which is total revenue, total expense, and total profits. For that, I'm first going to create a table to put all those measures in. I am going to call it key measures on load. So the first measure that I'm creating is total revenue, which is sum of the total revenue. Let's just delete this column because that is not required. The next measure that I'm going to create is total expenses, which is sum of total expenses. And the last measure is total profit, which is sum of total profit. Let's call it profits to make a distinction. Now that we have created our measures, let's start building our dashboard. So the first thing that we are going to build is the KPIs at the top. It's a card visual, and in the original challenge, there are three card visuals used, but I'm going to use the new card visual in Power BI, and I'm going to add these measures one by one: total revenue, total expenses, total profit. Let's just increase the size a bit. Let's start with changing the font size to 26. We need it to be bold. Changing the font, and all of these are shown in million values, so the display unit I'm changing them as millions, and there is no decimal place in the card visual, so I'm changing the value decimal places to 0, and I will just put it in the horizontal alignment, decrease the size a bit, and putting it a little below, just so that I can add the text at the top. Our two other measures have a comma, as is required in the challenge, but total profits is not having that comma separation. To add that, let's go to total profits and add this comma, and here we go. Next chart that we are going to build is the line chart. For that, let's choose this visual. On x-axis, we have year. On y-axis, let's first build revenue, so total revenues. I will just turn off the responsiveness so that I can adjust the X and Y label font sizes. In X values, let's go to values and increase the size to 14. Let's change the title, font for title, and then going to Y, doing the same thing, changing it to 14, and going to title, updating the font. Let's just adjust the size and stack it below the total revenue card. We don't need the title of the visual, so I'm just switching that off. And there are also grid lines present in the challenge, so I am just going to make it a little brighter and increase the width. Last thing that is required is the x-axis titles need to be bold, and y-axis title also needs to be bold. And now I am just going to copy paste this visual twice, one for total expense and one for total profits. Oh, one for total profits, and I am just going to replace total revenue with total expenses, and in this one with total profits. Last thing that we need to do is build a bar graph. So let's choose the bar graph, and in here y-axis needs to be the conference abbreviated, x-axis is total revenue, and again I for titles I need it as static conference. I'll just change the font and make it bold. Let's just align it, and for y-axis values, I'll just increase it a tad bit. For y-axis, we don't need the titles. Similarly, for x-axis, I don't need the title. I don't need the values, and we'll turn on data labels, and position will be outside n as that's what's required in the challenge, and the value will be in billions, but there are no decimal places, so we are just putting a zero in value decimal places. This looks similar to what is required in the challenge. Let's just copy it like the previous line charts. And now I am just going to change the measure. So instead of total revenue, this will be total expenses. And instead of total revenue, it will be total profits. Just these. And the tooltip looks good here. Tooltips look good here as well. And the last thing that we need is add a text at the top which says NCAA revenues and expenses, summary view. And to format it like it's in the challenge, let's just adjust the size to 20, make it bold. This one is also 20, making it bold, changing the color to somewhat yellow, and for summary view, let's just make it to 16. I will now place it at the top, and this looks similar to what is in the challenge. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.